What's going on, y'all? Your eyes and your ears don't lie. And man, I had to slide back on here because I saw some of this crazy, ridiculous shit that is going on, in the media today about how, you got Nancy Mace's punk ass who is just a despicable person in her own light, especially with everything she said yesterday that anytime she opened her mouth is unbecoming of a political figure and a representative of the U.S. government. But all that shit she said about how she knew it was some crazy leftists and the Democrats are responsible for what happened to Kirk, and how some transgender person with purple hair and all this crazy shit, only to come on today, and why they even gave her the time of day to be on CNN is outrageous. But she gonna release statements talking about how she's so victimized and she's scared to leave and do all this shit. I mean, come on. There's no end to the horrible despicableness of these people whatsoever. I swear. They are just... You went from absolute we at war and we need to destroy the left, and they're responsible to... Let me read you what she said, just so nothing is misconstrued. This bitch, and I only deal out the word bitch to people who are absolutely deserving. And she said that, and I'm going to read you what she put on X. We truly believe if Tyler Robinson had ever sat down across from Charlie, the great debater, the man of faith and grace he was, Tyler wouldn't have pulled the trigger. And then she said, we know Charlie Kirk would want us to pray for such an evil and lost individual like Tyler Robinson to find Jesus. We will try to do the same. Are you fucking serious with this? Like, y'all some stupid ass, two-faced, hateful, oh my God. I swear, man, y'all the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst. This is... Now you want to pray for him because you found out he's a white boy from Utah, raised in a conservative Republican Mormon family, and he's a straight white guy in a family of Trump voters. But he is radicalized by the extreme right, and from most of the outlets right now that are reporting on it and the information that is available, which I'm going to come back on and shoot a new video correcting myself if anything I'm saying is incorrect, but they saying he on the Nick Fuentes team instead of the Charlie Kirk one. And those two apparently don't get along or have some differences in ideology and opinion. So that's like you're both Crips, but y'all from different Crip sets. So you're still warring a little bit. Or I say a lot of bit. But these people are absolutely ridiculous in their behavior, and that tells you something about their supporters who continue to follow them blindly with that unbreakable support. I don't go by what people's words are. I go by your actions. And this is the disconnect that a lot of people have, where you cannot consider these people good people by their actions. You have no human decency, no morals, and you're driven by hatred and evil. Because any decent person would find this behavior of this entire administration, everybody in it and that supports it, unbecoming of a decent human being. But they haven't. And the way that they are revering this dude like he was some great guy. Everybody who's out there in the general public, whether it's your neighbor, your classmates, your co-workers, the postman, your landscaper, don't forget how they came out acting right now in support of this person, mourning this person's loss, putting him up on a pedestal, because I don't care what they say to you and how cool they might have been when y'all communicate and when y'all talk, when y'all cross paths. These types of actions give you an insight to their soul and how they really feel. For you to be torn up and all in on the morning of this dude tells you what those people really feel like. Because you don't feel like that when other people are victims of violence, especially people that look like me or people of color, because y'all demonstrated how y'all really feel. The things that he says, all of that. So I mean, don't act like y'all are good Christians, because I don't know what Bible y'all are reading and living by. And that's what really, I believe in God. I am not an atheist, but that's what drove me away from church. Going to church religiously, and then going in there, and as you get older, you start to notice things and realize stuff that you don't pick up on when you're younger. But you going to church and you seeing the worst people in the neighborhood, the worst people in society are sitting to your left and your right, behaving in the most horrible manners Monday through Saturday, and think because you show up in church or you talking that God shit on Wednesday night Bible study that it makes it okay. You ain't walking the walk, although you talking the talk. And I got fed up with that. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now from these fake ass Christians. They must be working out of a different Bible that we ain't never seen. Because his whole rhetoric and everything about it is against what Christianity and religion is supposed to be about if you really want to come to me with some God's word shit. And I ain't gonna get on my soapbox, but y'all need to take a look inside yourselves and figure out how you're gonna fill that emptiness with something other than hate and evil. And I don't know if y'all saw the little interview they had with Trump where they asked him, since you went out there with this hate-filled speech where you wanted to incite the most violence you can, because your goal is to get us to a point where there's so much fear and destruction that you can initiate the Insurrection Act. So you want the Insurrection Act to be used so that you don't got to have no elections. You're doing everything in your power to make sure we don't have 2026 midterms. Because you know, despite the lies and everything you saying on your propaganda networks, people ain't happy with you. And you losing seats throughout the country. That's why you're trying to gerrymander and cheat your ass off. Because winners don't think of ways to cheat. Cheaters think of ways to cheat. And they asked him, they said, how are you dealing with the loss of your friend Charlie? This fool nodded and said, he's good. And without missing a beat or even pausing for a second to at least give the impression you give a damn, he starts talking about the construction of the ballroom and how nice it's going to be and everything. And that goes to show he don't give a damn. He just looks for ways to add fuel to the fire where it could later benefit him. Because ultimately, I think that he has something to do with Kirk getting hit. Like, you wouldn't sacrifice this dude to get people talking about this instead of the Epstein files? Come on. Politicians and people have done worse, and he is evil as it comes. You look at this administration, they have the worst people that you could imagine involved in it. I don't know if a lot of people realize the scumbag that Stephen Miller is, who's really got Trump's ear, and he doing everything that he's told by Stephen Miller. Because that's who's really running the country. They know the pedophile in chief ain't gonna last too long. And oh, smoky eyeliner, they be having me rolling. Because I'll be watching that I Had It podcast, and if you guys ain't checking that out, you need to tune in and peep that out. They will have you rolling, but also they talk about legitimate, real shit. And coming from conservative women, I think it's a good thing for people to tune into, not only for the content, but it'll change your attitude where sometimes people get complacent and forget and think that all conservatives are like this shit you're seeing with this MAGA movement. And it's not. They're a disease that infiltrated the Republican Party and traditional conservatives. And a lot of them, they don't like it. So to get those opinions is great. Check it out. The I Had It podcast. And I also be fucking with Midas Touch, which Midas Touch Network is, I'll be on there. I'll be on Adam Mockler. I could go through the list of a lot of them, and it's great content. A lot of the stuff, they're talking about things that I'm talking about, things that I'm researching and finding out about, because some of the same outlets that they get their information from, I get mine from. You know, Ground News and a lot of the other ones, where I don't need you to just be extremely left or extremely right. I'd really like you to just give me objective, truthful information and let me decide. You know, the days where you didn't know where media outlets lean politically have been over, and they're missed. You know, it used to be where they reported on all the information and left it up to the viewers to decide. Now, when you look at most of these networks, especially the legacy ones and the propaganda ones working for this regime, you know exactly where they lean politically within the first couple of minutes based on the shit they're saying. And that's not how it should be. That's not journalism. That's not reporting news. That's some sitcom reality TV bullshit. But keep educating yourselves. Keep following it, even though I know it can be a drag. It can be exhausting to hear about all the negativity, but it's important to understand what's going on and how this is an attack directly on each and every individual in this country, regardless of what your political party is. If he has his way, he don't care about nobody but himself and enriching himself and making his other rich, wealthy oligarchs happy. That's it. This whole administration has not pledged allegiance to the citizens of this country, the Constitution, or any law. They pledge allegiance to criminality and the pedophile in chief.